chest. Every day I wake up feeling blessed, and even if I don't, I see it as a test. Cause I was lost until you were all around me. Nothing I could ever do could separate my love from you.
Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. When everything around me is shaking, I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. 'Cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. I know he won't.
I still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense, and I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I built my life on Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through every season. So why would he fail now?
He won't. Come on. He won't. Say, he won't fail. I need you to look at somebody and tell them, he won't fail. One more time. Christ is my firm foundation. If you're standing on Jesus, I need you to sing. The rock on which I stand. Come on. When everything around me is shaking, I've never been more glad. Come on. He's never let me down. He's faithful. I've never seen the righteous forsaken. So
Welcome. Are we tuning in? Are we live?
never seen the righteous forsaken.
Are we good? I mean, one in the chat if you can at least hear me. If you can at least hear me. Another music. Bringing a different energy.
Not gonna fail. He's never failed me. He never failed me. He's not gonna fail.
Not gonna fail.
He's gonna make a way. One day.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember them days in the 512, no clue, I'll make it to P Street. Spirit on
Yeah.
the trying to take me out, trying to dim my belief. Yeah, trying to dim my light, trying to
Anybody coming in here, anybody that is tuning in at a later time and not here live, and you're like, man, I missed this. Like, yo, this energy is vibrant, man. Maybe I'm not even a faithful person. Maybe like, yo, this is gonna be, some God stuff and whatnot. Like, we're calling it Stock Sermon Sundays just because I don't shy away from my holistic nature of things, and I do believe that you came on here for a reason of getting all the money in the stocks and the picks, and you want to expand your portfolio and expand your trading skill set. That everyone understands that your emotions are driven on the charts, right? And as your emotions are driven on the charts, I found that about me last year in 2024 at the time of this recording, which we're recording this in 2025, is that, hey, I can't control what the markets are doing. I can't control what the market makers are doing. I can't control which way data is going. And your emotions are going back and forth. And for us faith-based people, or for those people that are just like, man, I need to, like, why isn't it working, man? Like, why isn't it working? It's because we're trying to force things. And if you're inside of Leverage University, inside of my live trading floor, you know that we've been on a little bit of a win streak, right? And it's only been two trading days thus far, but we've been on a solid win streak. And even if you had to take a little small paper cut, you've seen a difference on the charts of being a little bit more patient, right? Of not forcing things, of waiting for the market to come to you. It's the same thing that I hear in this melody here in this song, is that you're not going to fail. You're going to make it, you know? So I just wanted to deliver that to you this evening, and maybe you're watching this at a later time. We're going to get into the masculine, energetic stuff, so let's jump into it right now. But before I do, I know some of you are listening on different platforms, and I said last time, just make sure that you have your phone next to you if you could. Just a little bit of interaction in the chat, right? There'll be some links down for you at the end of this. If you want to go ahead and check out my IG, it's like, yo, I want to connect with this dude. You're more than welcome to just follow. I'm not asking for anything here, but if you do want more connection or more information, we do have another step that you can take, which is inside of our Leverage University platform. Okay, inside of our Leverage University platform, there's a thought leader hub where you just come in like, yo, I just want to be a part of like good, energetic people, get words of wisdom, get our book club, get different things we got going on. It's $1 a day, right? $1 a day. If you want to come in and just say, hey, I want to join and get all the trading, all the university trainings, I want to get, you live, Dr. B. I want to get some real like guidance on how to move in my life, my business, and also in the stock market, these financial markets, I should say. Then you want to join our university. Okay. So appreciate you all. As I always say, thank you so much. You don't have to be somewhere. You can be anywhere, but you decided to be here. So I appreciate you for that. All right, let's jump into it. Let's turn it down and get right into it. Thank y'all so much. If you're here and you're able to, just make sure that anything that you hear on here live, if you could just comment. If you could just comment, say, B, that was good. Hey, I got a question. I'm going to be checking the chat. So make sure that you go ahead and comment down below. Comment down below, and I would love to answer any questions that you have. This is the time to engage. Again, if you want further engagement, we'll be hanging out after this, all the trade plans, ideas, everything that you can review so you don't have to go back to this videos inside of our university. All right. Thanks so much. And let's dive into it right now. All righty. And we are good. We're good. All right. So first thing I wanted to show, I always like to show what's available inside of our Discord as people, I had someone actually tell me today, it's like, B, when I joined initially, I thought I was gonna, some signals and, some things that, maybe have helped me out, but I didn't know I was gonna get just all these different things. I didn't know it was gonna help my life and all this kind of stuff and relations and connecting with people. And there's further to go. There's more things available. So you can see here, this is a holistic community. We got our prayer and fasting coming up this week. So again, just making sure that everyone is, even if you don't think you need it, right? Just providing all the tools that people can be successful in all arenas of their life, including this stock market game. So you can see here our channels. There's our Thought Leader Hub, where we're talking about things that we talk on our public platforms, our lives like this, our free resources, and we go a little bit deeper into those conversations and resources. And then you see here our trading floor, our university, which is all of our training section, right? And then our trading floor has all of our ideas, our shares, our leaps, our swings, right? Like the video that worked out pretty well for our community members that followed along there, just kind of give you some receipts, guided everyone through all the way through that swing trade there. And it's still potentially going to run this week. Okay. We've got Jensen speaking this week, the CEO of NVIDIA speaking tomorrow evening. Okay. And just want to show you a couple of wins here. You can see there's my boy Nico, 300% on that NVIDIA. And then a lot of other wins, small, big, does not matter percentage wise or the amount of money wise. If you're winning, you're winning. And then we mitigate losses here, right? So we mitigate losses. We do have a loss channel. I'll keep that just for us in the background, but we do have a loss channel just so we're transparent that this is a risk, right? But we mitigate those, try to maximize the gains and mitigate the losses. All right. Everybody cool with that? Let's jump into all the resources for this analysis here. As always, I want to start with our fear and greed index. I'll give you a little, if you want jotting notes down, or if you're taking notes, or if you're on your computer on your charts and you want to follow my levels, you're more than welcome to. So make sure that you are following along here and take notes about how I'm doing my R&D, my research and development here for the coming week. All right. So agenda, we're going to go over fear and greed index. We're going to look at our economic calendar for the week. We're going to look at the charts, and we don't have any earnings just yet. Earnings season is coming up in about a week or so. So nothing really in the way there. But like I said, we do have NVIDIA and Jensen speaking tomorrow afternoon. So that could spur on some things. And we do have some heavy data at the end of this week, which is NFP, non-farm payroll. So that should be pretty impactful there. All right. And my objective today is going to be the fight between the Bears and the Bulls. Okay. So if you see that thumbnail that you clicked on, the Bears and the Bulls are fighting right at the top. Who's got control? Short term, long term, where are we going? All right. So we're right kind of in the middle. So it's a very key week to pay attention. Fear and Greed Index. This is a simple indicator that you can type in CNN. There's one for crypto as well, which I'll touch on in just a second. Fear and Greed Index, we have it at fear right now. Anytime we're in extreme fear or fearfulness, I'll pull up the timeline here. You can see that every time we're down here in fear, right? This is all the way back to April of 2024. Every time we're in fear, that's typically a little bit concerning when people get like, can it go lower? Can it go lower? And every single time, yes, it could go lower, but it doesn't always go in a straight line, right? So as I tell my clients, my community members, anyone that's learning this skill set of trading or investing in the financial markets, things don't go in a straight line. So you still got to trust that as it's fallen and fallen and fallen, potentially 20%, 5%, whatever the percentage is based on the stock or index you're looking at, right? We'll go on the charts, the RSI, right? The relative strength index. It is oversold at a certain point. So when you get those big bounces and rebounds off of support, you're like, oh my gosh, like I was just about to jump into puts and I thought it was going to go lower, right? Yeah, you can, but you still got to look out for that, how much it is sold off already, which is what's happening right now. And the bulls have stepped back in because we are in fear. So people are buying it up leading into inauguration. Is that saying that we can't go lower for the remainder of the year? No, right? I'm not saying that at all, that this year could be a little bit shaky going into the first term of a new presidency. If you watched my last video on the channel, if you haven't, I'll refresh everybody here on the live that typically the first year of a presidency can be a little bit shaky. The second year of a presidency typically, historically, has been more of a bearish sentimented year. You think about Biden in 2022. About Trump in like 2018, 2017, end of 2017, a little shaky, right? So just be mindful of that we've had a tremendous run from 2021 up until bear year 2022, but 2023 and 2024 were almost 30% returns continuously on the S&P and the NASDAQ or QQQ for the entire year, right? So just be mindful of that when you see things, right? And you're looking for, okay, what in the world? Let me see if I can pull this up here. I'm going to actually share it to my screen. Let me see if I've got, and I shared it on my Instagram story. And I wanted to show these two sentiments so everyone gets an idea. The sentiment of the market is very, very important because what you'll start doing is you'll get so micro-focused, right? Like, man, we're bullish, or we bearish, or we bullish, or we bearish. And we want to think like big picture. In the short term for day trading, that's important. But if I'm thinking 3 months out, 6 months out, 9 months out, and ultimately the entire year, I want to think about what's the sentiment of the year potentially, right? And January typically sets the tone for the year. Okay. So let me share this for us. And man, this is the first Stock Sermon Sunday for the new year. Welcome, 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 welcome. All right. That yield curve. Okay, here we go. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right. Is this what it was gonna be? I shared on my story. I hate when I do that. Hate when I do that. All right, let me just share this piece. Let me share this piece right here. It should pop right on the screen. Here we go. All right. So everybody should be able to see this on my screen now, okay? And I don't like to put fear in the market at all, okay? So if you are hearing a sentiment of maybe other thought leaders, other people on these public platforms, maybe you watch other, I don't even want to consider myself a YouTuber, right? But other people that are sharing this type of information, you want to consider that you may hear a little bit of, well, maybe it's bullish. Well, what about Trump's inauguration? I thought a market was supposed to run with him. It does not always have to immediately over a period of time. Yes, it can build. Yes, a Trump market is very volatile. So yes, after the inauguration, it could pop. But think about after the election, there was that election pop, and then people were expecting a Santa Claus rally into the new year. And it pretty much gave back almost the entire election move to the time of this recording. So do you see how volatile that you could pop initially and then the earnings or what have you kind of maybe settles in? So I'm just focused on the fear and greed index in a short period of time that, okay, we're in fear. We could run quickly into greed into the inauguration, and then maybe finish off the month of January at an interesting point, and then we're headed heavily into earnings season. All right, let me get off my Yappuccino session here and go into this. Market cap of the largest stock relative to 75 percentile stock weight of the top 10 stocks in the S&P 500. This is showing that when the market is essentially run by 5 to 10 companies over a period of time, the market gets a little bit shaky or it just can't uphold those standards for that much longer. So if you look here at the Great Depression, and I'm not saying this, I'm not putting fear in here, I'm just giving information, all right? The Great Depression, you can see here at the top the amount of weight, right, on those companies what is its peak, okay? AT&T, GM, IBM dominate here in the 60s, okay? Nifty 50, then we have dot-com bubble, right? And then we have global financial crisis, and then we have COVID pandemic, and look where we are. When you have 5 to 10 companies, right? Give me a 2 in the chat, a fire emoji, or just a thumbs up, whatever you want to put that you're seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. So why is this important? Okay. First of all, short term, it's not that pivotal because if you're day trading, if we're live trading and we're day trading intraday in and out, cool. We're just trading that day's price action back and forth. However, over a longer period of time, people may be buying these all-time highs at a very heavy level, and then we pull back heavy, which is where the big dip comes, and then we run back to all-time highs, okay? So no one has a glass, crystal ball. No one knows when, no one knows if. It's just historical data that investors are watching out for and why a lot of investors are maybe moving some cash around, maybe sitting on the sides and just trading, dollar cost averaging into these AI companies. But what has been talked about is this AI bubble. Is it the AI bubble that may be coming next? When there's so much heightened esteem and what's going on and what's happening, can this company uphold? How much more market cap can NVIDIA run? We know NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla, long-term, yes, right? So it's going to be very pivotal to keep up to date, which is what I'm going to be doing inside of Leverage University and giving continuously content on this platform here. All right. Everybody good there? Let me see, check the chat really quick. All right, everybody good? Yes, yay, nay, yay, nay, yay, nay. Some people probably watch me on TV or something like that, so I get it. It's like, Brian, I can't comment. I'll just rewatch, just keep going. All right. So fear and greed index, we're sitting at the bottom here, 25 here. We popped. That August dip popped, ran back, and then we had a couple of fear mongering sentiments here where we have 25 again, okay? So I'm watching out for that into the inauguration. Same sentiment when we went into the election, all right? Cool. We're good. We good. All right. Next thing I'm going to go into is our economic calendar for the week, okay? Economic calendar for the week. I got asked, or I just saw a lot of comments. I've been active on Threads lately. Some of y'all have been like, yo, this man's going on a threadathon. Like, yo, what's up? But Threads is like, hey, I don't, whatever you think about Zuck and whatnot, but like Threads is And that's not even dismissing Elon and X. I'm just saying like it's curated. I'm like, oh wow, like you start liking some relationship stuff and relationship stuff comes up and you connect with other, people in relationships, or you connect with faith-based people, or you start liking some, trading stuff, and you're like, man, there's all these people that are trading and trying to learn how to trade. So all that sentiment said, I responded and someone said, I need to know how to trade. Or I want to learn how to trade. What are the first things that I need to know? And I said in response, first thing is understanding the sentiment and make sure you understand the economic calendar, right? You can think NVIDIA is going all up you want, right? But if you didn't know that Jensen is speaking tomorrow evening, that could affect NVIDIA, and NVIDIA could shoot to the moon, or NVIDIA could pull back and then shoot to the moon, right? Because of his sentiments. So there may be some profit taking and then he runs up, right? We've seen that before. All right. So I'll give, I think NVIDIA personally, some semiconductors are going to be main watch based on, we know when that man Jensen steps on stage, it's kind of like Fed Powell. All right. That man says we've got all these AI horizons, GPUs, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, yo, I'm buying it up. Okay. So let's go into Friday. This is where we have our unemployment rate, our consumer sentiment. What's the main? We got Fed minutes that'll be read on Wednesday, so that might have a little bit of volatility there at the end of the day. We got PMI tomorrow, 15 minutes. So tomorrow should be pretty active. Okay, so you'll see on the charts in just a second. For those that want to jot it down, my sentiment for tomorrow is waiting for a pullback and then take it up. Okay, so we can write it down potentially leading into data. Right? If we want to do that, if you're live trading with me, you know what I'm talking about. Or we can wait for the pullback and then pick up the dip and ride it higher. Everybody good? Everybody good with that? So there's your sentiment, is I would ideally be waiting for it to drop. So you should be expecting that tomorrow is, if we aren't already dropping pre-market, a little bit of a pullback, right, into this data, right, about 15 to 30 minutes in. And then you want to be thinking the call side ideally, okay, especially if those support levels hold up, right? Again, we're in fear. Again, there's a lot of bullish sentiment leading into the election, okay? So we want to watch that pullback for tomorrow. You can write it down or wait for it to settle in, find a support, and then we'll write it back up, all right? Cool. I don't see anything else very heavy. I love 8:30 data personally, just because it comes out before the market opens, so we can typically get a nice sentiment. So it should be a nice week. Should be a nice week. First real week of the market. So there will be a lot more volume, a lot more volatility. So if you're not inside of our live trading floor, if you're taking, some signals that I'm signaling very, very intentionally, if I don't see something solid, I'm not signaling it. It's for your benefit if you're in the community, right? Just because if you're late or you're not familiar with this volatility, right, I would rather you ask questions, or, hey, Brian, I'm looking at X, Y, and Z. If you're inside of our community, what do you think? Right? Because people have been getting faked out like no other. When to take profits, when to get in, when to get out, right? This is a volatile market with a Trump market. If you're not ready for it or familiar with it, it's going to be going up and down, as some people have already seen. It's like, dang, I was just in calls and it went all the way back down. I was just in puts and it went all the way back up, right? So be mindful of that. There's a lot of whiplash volatility, and it's going to be coming in even heavier with now everyone back from the holidays. Okay, we good? Now let's jump into the fun stuff. All right, all that is very, very important, which is why some of you are like, man, dude spends a lot of time on that daggone fundamentals, man. Can you get to the charts? Just give us the plays. It's a feeling. What did I just say at the very beginning? I said your emotions are developed on the charts and off the charts. So if you don't have a general sentiment and then go into the market with an open mind, you're going to be going in with a rational belief, right? NVIDIA is only going up. And then the moment it pulls back and then you miss your entry, you're like, what the? You see what I'm saying? So let's go into the S&P. Okay, here are some levels. Let me give you levels and we'll get up out of here. Main watch, SPY. Okay. Once you look at this chart, I'm going to get rid of the lines. Okay. I've already drawn my lines up. Okay. So 2 levels you want to watch for right now, as long as we're above 590. Okay. Maybe it ticks down into 589, but 590, if we're above 590, okay, it's going to try to hold that 590. and try to take it up to 595. All right. So watch out for 595 being at the very height, right? In the short term, right? It could blast through 595 if the data is good and there's a bullish sentiment, right? But look out for that 595. If it's sitting at 595 in the morning, right? Be mindful that you are sitting in a little bit of resistance. You see what it did here at 595, came right back down to 589, right? So if it mounts above and starts getting comfortable above 595 and it pushes into 596, then we could run, right? Potentially squeezing higher like this. Okay. It may not happen all in a day, right? But look what it did over here. Almost the same exact thing. So this is what I mean by looking at historical data. We're in fear. We got a lot of bullish action off of here. And I want you to look at the weekly chart. Look at this weekly candle. Does that not look like a hammer candle? So what I'm doing differently this year that if some of you have seen is I made a promise to myself. And if you listen to my trading plan for 2025, I said I'm going to be trading the trend or who has ultimate control over higher time frames. Okay. So in a weekly time frame, we have an extremely bullish candle here. Okay. So what did I just say earlier? I'll be waiting for pullbacks. I do not want to short this type of weekly candle because another weekly candle could open up and keep going. You see that? All right. Another weekly candle could, there we go, like that. It could open up and maybe try to push back up into this 601 like that. So I've got to be mindful of those, each level being tested. So right now, do you see where it's trying to go? Trying to go right back to this previous support. And then where that candle closed, where is that? 595. Okay, on SPY. All right. And this is your pivot point, which would be right around 590 where this candle closed. You see how we closed this candle, weekly candle, above this previous support. You see that candle right there, 590. So what if it just pulls back slightly into 590? Maybe it ticks into 589, reclaims, and then comes back up. All right. It could go deeper, right? Because we're a little bit more volatile. So what I've been doing is giving myself a little bit more room. All right. So let me zoom in here and take off these after hours. Okay. And I want you to look at that gap fill right there. Okay. So SPY did not fully fill this little gap down. So again, if we fail back below 590, right? Something like this, if we fail back below it, it could happen pre-market. It could happen immediately off open leading into data. And if we fail back below it like this, you know that it's coming back to about 586, 585. Okay. So do you see how wide that range is? So if you jump into calls a little too early at, well, Brian said 590 and it breaks 590 and it comes all the way $4 back. That's a pretty significant move. Y'all know if you're in calls up here and then it pushes down another $4 and you're not prepared to add more, you're gonna have to cut that very quickly. It's like, dang, like, so that's what I mean by I'd rather have wider ranges, right, of where it really wants to go. So ideally, I'd like to get into calls on SPY. If I see it holding above 590, it's like, the risk to reward is good, right? I want to think bullish, but I may pass on that trade, right? I may pass and I may want to see it kind of come up above 593 and then pull back and see it really hold. Maybe I want to see it hold above 592. All right. So keeping it very simple, here's what the risk to reward would look like. Give y'all a visual for my new people and my people that understand what I'm talking about. Okay. If I get into calls and I want to take it up and I want it to be green and I get in right here, well, there's my risk if it falls all the way back down. So you want your risk to reward to look something like this. So if I get in here, I've got to keep my stop loss pretty tight. I want it to hold above 590 ideally. And I want to ride it up from here. See how small that risk area is? Okay. Now, if I get into calls up here, right, I've got a little bit more room and then there's my risk. So what if it's all the way at 595 and I get into calls, right? I'll talk about my futures people in a second. And I get into calls right here. Well, there's my risk. It could fall right back down. So there's your visual of why entries are so important about waiting for that level, right? Especially for those people that aren't willing to add more. And I'm very transparent about that in my live trading floor is that, hey, if you can't add more to it, you may see me get in early because I'm a little bit more comfortable with where my risk is. I'm comfortable with the risk. So I may be like, hey, I'm in already, guys. Right. But I might say, hey, a better level is that top level. So maybe considering some puts on 595 if we see a wick come in, it's weak, or waiting for that little weakness to come in, maybe pre data, and then ride it back up. Okay. Can I get a one in the chat? Everybody good there? One chat, one chat, one chat, one chat. One chat, one chat, one chat. Everybody good? Yep. All eyes on employment number. Can you talk about the altcoins? Yes, I'm going to go into all those things. I always want to give my sentiment on the stock market first, and then I'll definitely go into the altcoins. Yep. Thank you, Tabitha. All right. Once you have a sentiment on SPY and QQQ, and even IWM is making some solid moves, which are the small cap companies. Once you have a sentiment on those, then you can say, well, I don't like to trade SPY or QQQ or any of those. Like, I want to trade Apple. I want to trade Tesla. I want to trade Google. Well, if they're at their solid levels of support, you know, oh man, if SPY gets above, 595, NVIDIA is going to run. If SPY gets above, 595, Apple's probably going to start pushing back up to that 250 level. So it's very important to get your levels on the indices and then watch the index and then trade your specific stock that you're watching. Okay. All right, let's jump into NVIDIA. Okay. It's kind of the talk of the town right now just because it has started to play out with this nice bullish flag. Look at that flag formation that formed on NVIDIA right here. Okay. All right. I just want to show that. And I forgot to do QQQ first. All right. QQQ levels. Man, QQQ has been so volatile. I've been kind of staying away from it personally, just because it has been super, super volatile, a lot wider ranges than I would like. You see, it ran from 505 to 520. You get in at the wrong time on QQQ or you chase this, like, great, that's fine. But it's just been very, very volatile, running $5, $8, $10. If you're comfortable with that, cool. But I'm trying to start my year off with less stress. Okay. So if I see a really good risk to reward, like I see QQQ all the way down here at 505, I did signal that in the community that, hey, that was a solid level. And then if it gets up here at like 523 or 520 even, I'll see how it reacts at 520 once it fills this gap. But watch 520. Okay. It's a nice psych level. For those who know what psych level means, it's just a nice round, even number. Okay. So stocks like to move ideally to round, even numbers. Okay. 515, 520, 510, 505. You get the drift. Okay. So 520 could be a key level of interest of whether it breaks above or we pull back again to this level of 515. Okay. So 515 is a very key support that if you see a pullback, just make sure that you're like, oh man, should I jump into puts? Just make sure you're aware of those supports down below because it could be a little bit of a bear trap. Very similar to here. You see that pulled all the way back. People jumped into puts at 512, ripped right back up to 520. So any pullbacks right now are kind of getting bought up. What if this happens and then we rip right back up? Okay. So just think, oh man, I see red. I see red. Can I get in a put? Right? Am I already in a put? Where's support? If I'm too late to the party, let me just let it fall, or let me try to catch a retest to get a little bit of a scalp down because I want to play puts, right? If you're not comfortable with that, you miss the big red candle coming down on the pullback, wait for that support, wait for buyers to step in, see that first green candle, ride it back up, okay? Here's your sentiment. The deeper the pullback, the better I like it on QQQ. All right, IWM. So again, levels on QQQ, 515, all right, 510, And then we have 520 if it breaks above or below. So you see it's about $5, $6 ranges. So play those $5 to $6 ranges on QQQ. IWM, I really don't like this chart right now until it breaks out of this little consolidation channel. I'm not sure if it wants to do a measured leg back down like this, or is this a pop like this? So I need it to kind of reclaim back above 227, and keep your eye on IWM, because if it breaks back above 227, do you see that level? It becomes support. So watch 227. If it starts to get moving and the market's moving and you see everything green, everything running, right? Maybe it's because of data this week, like we said earlier in the chat, like the PMI, the employment data. If the employment data is good, we're going to rip. Okay, if the employment data is a little poor, a little bit off, then we could have a little bit of weakness and more profit taking. So the employment data is going to be very key this week. So I'll keep everybody updated to that. If you're doing things on your own and you're not inside of a community, just be mindful. All right. So you can see it could give this whole move back to about 230. That'll be the target if it breaks back above 227. All right. There's IWM. Got support at about 220, 221. So any pullback, just mindful, 220, 221. All righty. Go really quickly. I'm not going to go over every single of these tickers, just some of the ones that people are interested in. So I'll go over NVIDIA. I think Apple looks good at support. I'll definitely look at Tesla because everyone's wondering where Tesla's going to go. And I know a lot of people trade Amazon, so I'll look at that as well. All right, look at this NVIDIA. Okay. If that's not a clean bull flag, I don't know what is. Okay. I don't know what is. So can you see how this is a possibility leading into Jensen tomorrow? Okay, leading into Jensen tomorrow. And let's actually see together. Jensen speaking January. Come on. Jan 6. Uh, 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. So the video is going to be on high watch. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. I can see it already spinning. The video is going to be on very high watch tomorrow. Okay, let me make sure we're still good. All right, still live. So pull back to 141, 142 on the video. Okay. If we get a pullback to this level of 141 to 142, anywhere in this zone, you want to think calls. Okay. It's now turned 140 to 142 as support. Now I know there's a little gap right here, right? Just be mindful of that. That again, if the data is poor or maybe people take profits off before he speaks, just in my opinion, I don't want to bet against Jensen speaking, one of the top CEOs, if not the top CEO right now. So anytime he speaks, people are like, oh man, buy it up. Right. So yeah, I remember in the university, and I mentioned, I think on here before, in the fall, he spoke and we I didn't even know he was speaking. And the video ran all the way like $10 for that day. Okay. So NVIDIA pull back to 142. And then if it doesn't pull back, you want to look for it to break above 146. Okay. Break above 146 for NVIDIA. Personally, it's going to try to retest 150 and then try to take out 150. Okay. So again, give yourself some time. You want to have a proper entry, right? I know people get excited and they're like, man, the call's off open. You can do what you want, right? You can do what you want, but ideally, right, you want to look at potentially that 150, depending on your account size. I like to always, because it's a public platform, always follow my rules of closer into the money is better. I know I have some people with some larger accounts. So I do understand that if you can spend $400 on a contract and keep it in the money, right, that's great. You can see here that there's a lot of interest on that 140. So if we do have a pullback, those could be cheaper, right? So $300, $400, $500 for next week contracts. If you're doing this week contracts, just be mindful. You want to keep it a little bit closer in the money because it is a weekly. Okay. So Public platforms, I always say that I have beginners that are listening to myself. So if you are, always consider the following week, or if you have a larger account, you want to just say, I want to go 2, 3, 4, or 5 weeks out, whatever. I believe in NVIDIA. Do your own due diligence. Okay. So there's free game on NVIDIA. Watch for that 140 to hold. Okay. If we don't have 140 to hold and it pulls back, the market pulls back a little bit deeper, still look for the next support at about 137. Okay. 137. All right. Apple. Okay. Apple's very interesting here because it's a little bit oversold on the RSI. Okay. A little bit oversold on the RSI. You can see here on a 2-hour, I've got it down here on this RSI oversold. Okay. So Apple has already pulled back $20. Okay. In a very short amount of time. So I know they're going through a little legal battle right now, but every time that happens, it's short lived. Okay. So watch Apple, ideally getting back above 146. Right? That would be ideal, optimally, like 145, 146. But here's how Apple could look if it breaks out of this consolidation and gets moving like that. So chart that up on your charts. Again, if you're new and you haven't had sentiment on how I get all these charts, I have a charting video on here. Go watch that. I do use Webull, okay? Or if you use TradingView, that's perfectly fine. If you're on Robinhood, go watch my Robinhood Legend video, okay? These levels are very important because that could be resistance and it could come right back down. Okay. So trade it from 243 to 246, breaks above 246, could get running. So if you think long-term, you're like, man, Apple's going to recover, then give it time. If you're thinking, man, Apple's going back to 250. Okay, cool. 250 calls, give it time until January 17th. Right now, they're $120. They may be a little bit cheaper in the morning, maybe a little bit more expensive depending on where Apple is. So you could look at 250 calls or ideally 245 calls if you have larger accounts into next week. That would be the date before the inauguration. So again, fearfulness pushing up into the inauguration. We could have a little bullish run into there. All right, cool. There's Apple. Let's jump into Amazon. Okay, Amazon levels for anybody. I got around 225 roughly. I don't like that Amazon personally is not at a key support necessarily. It already hit its key support at around 217, 218 down here, reclaimed 220. So Amazon kind of looks like NVIDIA, right? It looks like a big bull flag, but it's kind of in the middle of a range. It could fall back down. It could go up. So I don't want to bet against Amazon. I'm just talking about for day trading or a weekly watch is I don't really like where it's sitting right here. If it breaks above and goes, it could run back to 230 for sure. But I think there are better opportunities of risk to reward. So I'm going to leave Amazon alone. But if you trade Amazon, just watch that 225 level and 226. If you see SPY, QQQ running, you can look out for Amazon. All right. Google, not really a big fan of it either right now. It's just kind of chop city personally. Right, just kind of sitting up here in this chop. The market need to get weak, and then I'll be looking probably to trade Google down. It's been a little bit weak, or if the market gets strong, kind of react to Google. It probably wants to retest this 196 level if the market runs. So it could be doing this little consolidation flag like that if I raise it up. So if it falls, bounces, consolidates, and then does one of NVIDIA moves and pushes up, employment data is bad, it could do something like that. Okay. AMD still got on my watch for those swings. Congrats to anybody who picked up AMD. AMDL as well. Okay, it's a free game again for you. Okay. If you want to know, again, if you're still not in our university or our community, well, Brian, if you're giving out free game here, what's the benefits? Because I chart it out for you and I follow along so you don't have to. So I'm updating you every single time on whatever I'm signaling. Okay. So here's AMDL shares. Great. Anywhere underneath $10, ideally $7, $8 range. It has a hammer candle on a weekly, hammer candle on a monthly forming right now. And this is just a long leveraged version of AMD. So if you're like, man, I want to buy some shares, but AMD's $120. Okay, you can look at AMDL and buy shares of AMDL for $8. Maybe get you 100, something like that. Ride it up to, AMD starts pushing back up. Right, alongside NVIDIA, alongside the semiconductor sector, which I think is going to be strong for 2025 as it's been taking a beating a little bit. And this could easily be $10, $12, $13 back where it was in end of September, which was $15. So if we look at AMD, where was AMD at the end of September? 160. Right. So when AMD gets at 160, AMDL will be around $16. There's your double up, $8 to $16 on shares, 100%. All right. So just watch out for that. Obviously not financial advice, but I'm loving the sentiment, and that's what we're here for. If you understand the education and what I'm telling you, then you're like, oh, I see that too. I see that too. Right. So support, a little bit of a hammer candle on AMD forming right here. And if the market gets strong, this could start breaking back out. Back to 140 would be my first target, and then ultimately back to 150. And then the big bullish run would happen above 165 for AMD, back above this high right here, 160, excuse me. Right. It would look something like this. Okay. Look out for that. You can look at long leaps as well, out until January 2026. All right, you can check that out. Or June is another date I look for. June 2025 contracts. All right. TSM running, the semiconductor sector starting to bullish out here. This is the ETF semiconductor sector, SMH. All right, do you see the structure that it's looking like? Bull flag. That's why the semiconductor sector is on high watch right now, because if this starts breaking out, the whole semiconductor sector is going to start running. Okay. So TSM, AMD, Qualcomm looking good. AVGO maybe bouncing. It needs to cool off. It has a big gap fill. Maybe even SMCI picking back up some steam. Ionic, Palantir. Just pick your nature, right? Just pick one. Obviously, we know the top, but that's the sentiment for the. MU looks decent too. Right, MU has a big gap fill here. I've been talking about that as well. So keep your eye on the semiconductor sector. Okay. All righty. I think that's majority of everything. Can I get a 5 in the chat? 5 in the chat, 5 in the chat, 5 in the chat. If you're able to comment, that'd be great. I just want to see a little bit of a response that we're good to go and continue. I'm going to jump into crypto, and I'm going to jump into futures, and we'll be out of here. Okay. And there's our hour time frame. 5 in the chat, 5 in the chat. Everybody good? 76% of NVIDIA employees are millionaires. Wow, the entire market feels like that. Yep. Exactly. I was about to exit out of this whole thing. All right, let's jump into what we got for crypto and then altcoins. All right, Bitcoin starting to bull flag again. My target on Bitcoin, here's my sentiment on crypto, okay? Obviously, do your own due diligence. People are like fiending right now. They're like, yo, what's going to be the next pop? Like, people are literally fiending like, yo, I need 500%. I need 100% like Bitcoin to 500,000. I was like, come on now. It will get there, but that market cap's stupid. It will not pull. It will pull back before it goes anywhere near 500,000. Okay. So Bitcoin, the top level I personally have based on my Fibonacci levels and based on, where it could go, a measured move, will be right around 120. Okay. Right around 120, maybe 125. If we get a nice pop leading, like the inauguration pop, right, where we went from about 80, where was the inauguration pop? Right here, we went from 70 to 90. So that's 20,000. So you think about, be realistic about the pops that could happen in the short term. So yes, we could have another inauguration pop if we get back above 100 and we start seeing it bull flag. And yes, it could run to 115, 120, things of that nature. Okay. Now, why are people talking about altcoins? Okay. Everyone has their opinion. I'm not here to sway like Ethereum's better than Bitcoin and Dogecoin and Solana's better than all of them. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just here to give you rational technicals, and you can follow the technicals and get your emotions off of it. Do your own due diligence elsewhere. Right. But if you follow the technicals, it's going to work out in your favor. I'll give you an idea. Okay. Here is our Discord. Okay. We've been signaling altcoins for a minute. Okay. All the way up here. And I posted this on Dogecoin back in July. Now, guess what? Everyone, oh, Dogecoin is just a meme coin. It's going to crap. It's not nothing. Okay, cool. That's fine. Right? You can believe that, but it moves with the market, and the market sentiment is going to move. It's not saying hold Dogecoin forever. It's just saying that based on technicals, look at this technical bull flag. It pulled right back into where? Previous highs, previous highs, previous highs. Where was that, Brian? At 10 cents. Where's Dogecoin now? Look at that bull flag right there. That can't make that up. I posted it in July. So guess what? That's 400% on your money just in shares. So $100 turns into 400. $1,000 turns into 4,000. Right? You assess your risk, but using the technicals is going to help everybody get their emotions off of the market. Can I agree? Can anyone agree with me on that? If you're still learning it, like, man, I'm still trying to learn the technicals, that's great. So when people ask which one's the best, I just look at the technicals and say, oh, this is a bull flag. So where is it going? I use my same sentiment, keep my wrist tight. Look at this. It's going to take the next measured move. So there's the first bull flag. Where might it pull back to? Maybe 30 cents if it does pull back. But if it starts breaking out of this chain, measure the move out of the first breakout, pull it over, 60, and where is it going? Right to the previous high. You see how that can happen? And yes, there's a possibility for Dogecoin to do something like that over the course of Trump's term. Okay. But I'm just talking about taking it from level to level. Okay. So look at the technos and see where the buyers are stepping in. Where'd they step in? Right here at 27 cents. Okay. So I want to get a buy zone, maybe of about 5 to 10 cents on just using Dogecoin as an example. Okay. So if I take it from 30 to 60, what is that? 100% of my money. I don't care if I have $5, I just made $5, right? If I have $10, made $10, $100, made $100. So do the math on like not thinking, you can think as big as you want, but I just look at double ups. If it goes from, no matter how much money I have, if it goes from 30 cents to 60 cents, there's 100%, right? So am I mathing? Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about mathing. Yeah. Okay. I got you. Now, if it goes $1, there you go. You know, home run, grand slam. All right. So Dogecoin, if you want to look at that, I think that is something to definitely look at for sure. You can dollar cost average. Like, Brian, I don't want to miss the move. Okay, cool. Do the recurring, right? And set an amount. Obviously, not financial advice. Got to make a disclaimer on these public platforms. But if you have a set amount and you're like, man, I want to put $500 into altcoins and see what it does, right? $100 here, $100 here, $100 here, $100 here, maybe 150, 150, 150, right? You divvy it up however you want. Maybe I just put all 500 in one, just focus on one, right? Then do that. But have you a set amount that you are comfortable with? That's how I start off. Is what am I comfortable with? Not let me load the boat from my whole savings and just put it all in. I can make $1 million, right? Still keep your risk assessed, right? So then you feel better. So you can dollar cost average 100. Okay, pulls back a little bit more, 100. Pulls back a little bit more, 100. Okay, it's starting to run. It's going in my favor. All right, I'm comfortable right there. I'll just leave it. All right, so Dogecoin, 30 cents to about, I'd say 37 cents right now, right? Any type of pullback, any type of little red that you see, right? Even for right now, if I turn on even moving averages here, I can get real granular on the moving averages of where it might pull back to. So about 33 cents, that could be a nice higher low. Look at that trend line right there, right? So pull back to 30 cents, right where buyers are. There you go. Starts running back to where it wants to run back to in the short term, 48. So 30 cents to 48, you do the math. How much is that on your money? Cool. And then if it runs, cool. You know where it's going. It's going to 50, going to 60. And that's how you trade shares or equity responsibly. is you have your buy zones and you're like, ooh, that looks good. Right. All right. So let's look at let's mention another one before we go into a couple. Let me mention Clean Spark. Got to mention Clean Spark. This is one we've been talking about in the community for a minute. Okay. And it's starting to kind of curl up at a very nice level here of support. Look at that. That looks like a cup handle. Very big handle here. Bull flag right on a trend line, high or low. Look at that. Right. So I drew that trend line from this low to these where the buyers are stepping in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's a nice trend line. Is it ready to break out pretty soon? All right. So at $10 to $20, and we're expecting, a pretty big bull run again for crypto, right? So this is the kind of the second heave, right? It could happen, this summer. It could happen in 2026. It could happen all the way through Trump's term, right? But 10 to 20, that's realistic. It's done it before multiple times. 10, 20, 10, 20, 10, 20, 10, 20. So that's 100% on your money. If it goes even further, that's a bonus and a home run. And shoot, we throwing a Leverage University daggone getaway. if some kind of craziness happens, like NVIDIA and like NVIDIA employees or something craziness, hey, I'm just saying. So get excited, but keep your wrist tight. All right. And you can always average up. Think about that. Like, don't be afraid to average up. So if you're like, man, I didn't bottom ticket, I didn't get in at 10. Okay, cool. Well, take it from 15 to 30. Get my drift? Right? So think about those double ups. That'll keep you in perspective. People are telling me these crazy numbers. I'm like, yo, let's get to 5 on XRP first. Jeez, 2 to 5 first. That would do something wonders for people. All right, let's jump into altcoins. All right. So I'm going to do Shiba next. And again, if you're hearing other altcoins and you have them, and put them in the chat and I can look at the chart. But if you have other altcoins that you want me to take a look at, you're more than welcome to put in the chat and I'll take a look at it, because I know there's other people that are looking at various different things, and that's cool. So I'm just checking out the main that I have historical data on a little bit more personally. And I'm looking at this Shiba chart, which Dogecoin looks a little bit better, but Shiba definitely, again, this could be a cup handle. Okay. There's the handle bull flag right there. There's the trend line right here. Right. And where is that? So the closer it is to this trend line, the closer any pullback like right here would be about 20 to 25 cents on Shiba. Not 25 cents, but 4 zeros and a 20. Okay. I'm just going to talk 20 and 23. Okay. 20 and 23. Okay. So about 20. Same sentiment. Round even numbers like to gravitate. Round even numbers like to gravitate. So there's a support right there. What is that? 21. A lot of buyers sitting right there at that 20 to 21 area. Buyers, buyers, buyers. Resistance, buyers, buyers, buyers is pulling back into there. Okay. So anywhere around 20. And then where would you be taking it? Back to this previous high, which is about 33 or so. So yeah, it's decent. It's decent. It's not great in my opinion, but just want to chart it out. Now, if it goes back to here, then that would be awesome. But again, still, you're looking for that 20 to 40 move, which would be the high right here. Okay. Pepe. Cool. Next one. All right. Pepe, let's look at it. Okay, a little bit of a pop here. 18.29. Is this the full chart of Pepe? It doesn't seem like it. Let's move on from Pepe. So just focus on Doge, in my opinion. Let's look at XRP for sure. Okay. Everybody's got their eyes on XRP and where it's going as well. Crazy price targets on XRP. My golly. I feel like that's not a. There we go. Let's get Binance. There we go. All right. So XRP, we have again a previous. How many people bought XRP inside the community? Or if you heard me say, I think I've talked about this on a live stream or the channel in general, is that if you missed the above $1 move when I told people to buy $1, if you were late to the party, if you've been in since 30 cents, 50 cents, like some of us have, that's great, right? But now people are like, man, where do I get in? Where do I get in? Think about the psych levels. Psych levels, $1, anywhere around 2, and then we're headed to 3, and then 4. It's just jumping to those dollar moves. When it starts breaking all-time highs above 4, and ultimately $5 is where I think personally some profit taking is going to have. And if it starts consolidating above 5, it's going to run very quickly into highs. However, you got to think about market cap, right? This when people think like going to $2, that means Bitcoin needs to be just 200,000, 300,000. So you got to put it in perspective that these runs could happen, but taking it from level to level. Look at the double up, 250 to 5. Cool, right? 2 to 4. Right, so that would be my support. Right, if you don't want to try to time in and whatnot, put a limit order in. Okay, put a limit order in. If you don't know how to do that, go to your brokerage, Robinhood, Coinbase. If you have a ledger or you're using a cold wallet, hot wallet, right, put your limit order in for those levels. So hey, buy $100 of XRP when it gets to $2 or $2.10. Buy another 100 if it goes to 150. Right? Or just dollar cost average. All right, just dollar cost average. Okay, everybody good? Those are your levels right now. And look how it popped off of this. So that's what I'm talking about, is this is a technical bull flag right now. Could it be faked out? Yeah, it could. Right? But if it starts pushing like this, that would be Bitcoin above 100,000 running, okay, and going. Okay. Now, could it be faked out and pull back a little bit? Yeah, it could. You got to be prepared for anything. So I like to have both scenarios in play. Is that yes, it could do this, catch people chasing a little bit, pull back a little bit to 150, and then run back up. Okay. Let me check the chat. We're good. 550 gain. XRP lending. Yeah. So Skater Real, if you're talking about XRP lending as far as like loaning out your XRP, I'm familiar with it, but I just don't want to misspeak. I want to always be transparent on here. So if you're talking about XRP lending, like lending out your XRP as a loan, is that what you're talking about? If you are, cool. I'm call it, but it's not me really, but the decoders XRP before Christmas, $20 plus 2025. Get you guys some XRP too. Yes, XRP. Yep, Court. Welcome, man. Yeah, you definitely could. I'm a fan of that. So what Skater Real is talking about, and if you want to be, if you want to put your real name, you're more than welcome. I love to connect with actual people. And for those that are still not, in our community and you're here on these multiple live streams and you want to message me like, hey man, like I love your live streams, love the channel, like would love to join. That's cool. But I'm so grateful that you're here, if you're getting value here. So what he's talking about is a lot of these altcoins and also crypto in general, you can lend out for interest income, or in some terms it will be staking it. Right, so you can stake it, which would be earning interest on that as well. So if your platform, sometimes Coinbase does it. I use Exodus as well. Some of you may use Kraken. There's a bunch of different ledgers and brokerages. If you have questions about that, like message me afterwards. I'm not going to go into all of them here. That's not the point of this. But if you do have and you know what you're doing, yeah, you can earn interest on your crypto. And you can also, there are crypto loans. So that could be a future conversation, or maybe we do it inside the community. But yeah, there are crypto loans. You can loan against your crypto, take a loan out, and then use it for whatever you'd like, right? Because it's an asset, right? Very similar to collateral on like a car, right? So take out a car loan. What's your collateral? The car, right? So, all right, cool. XRP, love it. Any final that I missed? I'm just sticking with the main ones. I know people are like asking about ADA, Cardano. Let me find Cardano's chart. I think Cardano has personally ability. I just look at where the high is, and I don't have much interest in Cardano personally, but doesn't mean I can't trade it or can't take it from $1 to $3 or $1 to $2. That's 100% on your money, right? So that's what I'll be looking at. I'm just looking at the technicals here on Cardano, which would be, again, a really nice technical level here. Where did it stop? Right where buyers are. Where is resistance in the short term? Right here at 130, 140. Let's just say 140. Okay. So I'll be looking at this range for Cardano, which is about $1 and some change, right? Roughly $1. And then looking at this 140 level, 150 level. If it breaks 140, ultimately, it's going to start running very similar to this and run back to 150, ultimately back to 250, and then back to $3. So you do the math, that's what, 300% on your money. So yeah, that was a great technical pullback. So I was signaling or telling the community in general why it's quote unquote altcoin season. If I take out all the noise and the news and the data and everything, it's essentially just, we saw a pullback in a lot of crypto names leading into the new year. That's an opportunity, right? So if you missed the first run, or really the second run, missed that for the election, now's another good time where here's that pullback, right? Here's that pullback. So a couple of them, let me see. Bonk I was looking at right here, this technical signal on Bonk, about 30 cents, running back to, not 30 cents, but 30. Just 4 zeros and a 30, okay? And then 60. So there's 100%, okay? Yeah. Any final things? Let me see. Chat. Yep. Exodus. I love the look of it as well. It's very clean. Nothing. I think I went over everything. Maybe futures. Let me jump into futures really quick. Be transparent about that as well. So if you didn't know, I am jumping back into futures. People have been asking me about like, Brian, how long have you been trading futures? Well, I traded futures on my own account, which is a live account. You're using your own money, very similar to options. Back in like 2018 or so, 2019, and then I just continued with options. Just jump heavily into options because the technology and the brokerages, people, you hear all those Forex people and all that kind of stuff, and so I wanted to just get off of that until it kind of cleaned up a little bit. And now there's a lot of reputable brokerages, prop firms, a lot better technology out, a lot better trading platforms. So all that being said, I'm using a prop firm right now. If you've heard of prop firms, I'm trading with Top Step. Okay, some of you maybe have seen. If you have more questions about it, maybe I'll make a futures video. But yeah, we are sitting in a combine right now. So I am going through the passing stage. So you pass a combine, it shows that you're a real trader, it shows that you are real about this and you know what you're doing. And if you do know what you're doing, you are into a funded account and it is going to protect your capital. So that's my strategy this year going into with all this volatility is load up on the shares, load up on leaps, keep my options trading a little bit less risky because there's so much whiplash and the expiration date, it could expire and things of that nature, decay, just so much going on right now. So Here are my results if you want to see. 100% win rate, profit factor 1, meaning I have not lost a trade yet. Who knows? I'm open to it. I'm going to keep my stop losses very tight, but have not lost a trade yet. I've been very clean on the amount of trades that I've taken. So this means 5 contracts. I took 1 trade, made $1,400, another 5 trades, or excuse me, another 5 contracts on ES and made close to 3,000. So for those of you that have not seen me trade live, for those of you that are in the community, you've already seen me trade live. So there are some real stats, as we say, for you fill in the blank. So I do know how to trade, even though some of you have not seen me live trade. So I'm very particular about my technicals, and I'm also particular about my entries and my exits. Now, do I take losses? Yeah, I do, right? So there's some winning factors. So hopefully y'all pray for me. We're gonna be keeping spirits high this week that we'll pass this and we'll be funded this week. And we'll start trading live and start taking some payouts here, okay, which should be good. Okay, so I'll make a video on that. And if it doesn't work, I'll be transparent about that. Like, okay, like y'all saw this? There's some red here. So hopefully that was good for you to see for anybody. So here are ES levels. Okay. And then we'll end on this. So I know some of y'all wrapping up the night with your family, friends, whoever, kids. ES, this helps you trade SPY. Okay. If you don't even trade futures, right? I'm looking and watching if ES gets above 6,000. Okay. If it starts getting above 6,000, what is that on SPY? On SPY, that would be about 593-ish. Okay. And guess what? Here is that run I was telling you about on SPY. It could start running, right? It could start just running up to the next level. So if it gets above 6,000, look what it did last time. It got above 6,000, started running to where? That 595 on SPY, which would be about 60.50 on ES, right? So that's how it helps me trade or signal a little bit better on my options. If I do signal something in the community for our trading floor, is that if I see ES get above 6,000, I'm like, hey, no shorting SPY, no trying to play puts on SPY. It's trying to go to 595. Okay, wait for it to get to 595. That would be ES 650. If it breaks, that, then that would be SPY, 600. You get my drift, right? So that's what I'll be watching this week. Is how does ES react to 6,000? If it rejects and comes back, then I know SPY is going to be pulling back like we wanted it to, that 590, right? If it goes deeper on ES, I'm like, oh man, SPY must be coming back to that 587, that gap fill we looked at, all right? Remember? Right here. See, there's ES 6,000 right here, about 593. All right. So if I see that, I'm like, cool, it's going to 595, pushing up a little bit further. Just let it run, let it go. Or maybe trade a little bit of a call. I know it's very tight, right? Trade it up to there. Cool. I got a little resistance. Or it fails back below and we do this. Right. And that's what I'll be watching on futures. How does it react at this 6,000 level or anywhere in the 60.50 or 60.40? Okay. All right. NQ, which will be QQQ, is this 21,600 level. Again, psych levels work the same on futures as well. 21,600. So people just say 600. All right. So I'll be just looking for 600. All right. See this resistance area right here, about 600 or so. All right. And I could technically trade right now. Like the market's open. You see it moving. Like I could trade right now, but I've been keeping my trades very clean. I don't want to rush anything. So I'm just going to wait till the morning, but I could technically take a, trade right now, but it's really not moving. Okay. But do you see it's kind of pulling back already? All right. So that could be pulled back to that 21,400, which again, correlated for my QQQ people, will be pulling back to this 515. See how it looks? Looks about the same. 515. If I see NQ maybe getting a lot weaker, a lot bigger solid candles, I'm like, oh man, is trying to fill this gap all the way back down here. And that would be my signal for people in the community like, hey, QQQ wants to come all the way back to 510. Be careful. Does that help everybody? Even if you don't trade it, know what I'm talking about, right? Do you see how the futures help you also trade options or watch SPY and QQQ? Is because the levels correlate and I can trade either one or just be a little bit more confident about where the market's going, right? There's that gap fill. So I got to be, you also see that you can't really see many gap fills on futures, right? There is a way that you can set them up, but that's what I like to use this for in my Webull setup is I can see where the gaps are, right? So if I know that it's going to push above 520 and go up to, 523 and it starts running, okay, cool. Well, there is the same thing happening here. It wants to break above this 600 and start running, right? So when you see those big trend days on QQQ and SPY, it's because it's broken a very key level, typically on future, and it's trying to go all the way to that big psych level right there, 22,000, right? So that's what can happen when you're like, golly, like QQQ just ran like $8 because the level is so big that it broke. Look what it happened right here. It just wanted to run all the way up to that big psych level of 22,000. So that's where you get those big moves. So this big move could happen, right? Pull back, run up into the inauguration. If data is good, remember, I know, I think it was Skater Reel said that, right? If data comes in our favor, employment data is any pullback like this could just run, right? Because you see we've broken trend, downtrend, 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 broken trend, retest, take it back up. Okay. So short term, bulls have control. Now, I'll leave you with this. It's my last thing because I went over all the futures. Here's my big thing. If we run all the way back up to these highs leading into the inauguration, right? I'm still going to have my head on a swivel. I know that sounds crazy, but look at this run that happened. Pushed up. Oh man, we're back. It's going to take out all-time highs and we're going to go all the way up here. I have still got my head on a swivel that we're still technically in lower highs. So you've got to be mindful that even if we come all the way back up here, right? I'm not saying we can't run all the way back up, but you've got to trade it level to level. If you break above 595 and ultimately above this 530, we're gone. But what if this happens? What if we run up into there, slam right back down? Everybody follow me? Look at this head and shoulders on SPY. Get my drift? I promise that'll be the final thing. Put a 6 in the chat if you get my drift. You see what I say? You see what I'm saying? See what I'm seeing? Okay. So what you're going to be seeing from a lot of traders or individuals, like, man, this thing is bullish. I don't know what they're talking about bearish. I don't know what they're talking about coming back down. It's because this is still in play and it could change. That is a head and shoulders formation. Okay. So even if you see big green candles coming up into the inauguration, right? Or before it or whenever, and if data comes out bad, if earnings come out bad or whatever happens, and we get back up into this area, 600 again, we could slam right back down. And there's our start to the first quarter. Okay. I'm not saying a big red candle would come back down like that, but I mean, shoot, it's not out of the question. Right. So keep your head on a swivel, wide ranges, trade level to level. Do not get greedy if you are trading and you don't have any support or you're not inside of a community. We good? Would I prefer to buy shares? I got on late. If you could just, my boy Nico, you can just start all the way over. Shalitha, did I go over that? Answer all that? ESNQ and gold. I'll go over gold. I'll just answer the question on that. If any of y'all got to run, I do understand. But Shalitha, did you get your question answered on ES and NQ? ES and NQ. ES is probably the cleanest. Just watch 6,000. Does it break above 6,000 and we get above? It's going to 60-50. If it rejects 6,000, if we start seeing some weakness, some weird stuff going around 6,000, then it's probably going to pull back roughly about that 59.80, maybe 59.70. Okay. Cool. Would you prefer to buy shares of SPY? I'm always a fan of buying shares of SPY and QQQ long term. Always a fan of that. What I would say if you get in now, it's just dollar cost averaging. Put it on a $5 recurring, $5 recurring, $10 recurring. Here's my big idea where a big buy zone. If you really want to know where most of the big money is looking for SPY and QQQ to like load up, because the first year of an election, you've got to understand that it's a little bit shaky and we could have another bullish year, but projections are typically less on the first year of a new presidency. We had a 30%, 20%, right, return, just under 30%, 20%, and some change on SPY and QQQ the past 2 years. So my projection this year is roughly around that 10 to 12, that normalized projection. Okay. So if we do pull back, right, I like this zone of around 560 to ultimately 550. Okay. Now we could go higher before we go lower. And this is what I'm talking about. If we have a lower high formed again, we push back up. And for some reason, this starts to happen. I like that area down here again, because guess what? This could give us our 10 to 15%, right? Which would be right around there, right? So I'm not saying it's not going, SPY is not going to 620, 630, 650, right? But again, if it pulls back, look at this again. There's your 15%. Where's that SPY? 640. Does that not look like this? That'd be still on a bullish trend. Everybody see that? All right. So you want to look at the higher time frames, obviously on a monthly. That would be very similar to what's happening. So I'm glad some of you are thinking long term. Is that, yeah, I think by the end of the year, we're looking at 680, I would say 650 personally. If a pullback happens, if we just run, 700 has been talked about, like SPX 7000. Okay. That has been talked about already by a lot of analysts, SPX, because remember that prediction of 6,000 was this year, right? Which was beginning of the year. It was at roughly just under 5,000 and it ran to 6,000. Okay. So that would be on SPY 500 to 600. So just think that, we could see 700 by the end of the year, but that would be a third year. And there's a lot of speculation, right? A lot of movement and speculation, a lot of volatility. So do we pull back and then go, or do we break out and go and just another run? But I'm expecting to pull back, maybe not a deep one, but there's the RSI on a monthly. Every time we get an RSI on a monthly, there's our 2022 bear market. We're at it again, RSI over 70 on a monthly, and we could push up into the inauguration. Then we start a downtrend potentially. Okay. There's 2020. There's 2022 bear. There's the global financial crisis right here, 2007. Look where we were, 70 RSI. That lasted for almost a year and a half, 2 years plus for people. Do you see the trend? So I'm still sticking with my overall sentiment, but I will be day trading, and I personally will be. And this head and shoulders looks even cleaner on this. Looks even cleaner. Well, this is good for everybody. A little bit longer than I would like, but hopefully these live streams have helped a little bit. Okay. All right. Well, just making sure I went over everything. I think that's it. I'll go back to my wanting the best stocks for DCA for your sons. Amazon, what a beautiful 2024. Yes, watching the 6,000 level. Yes, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm glad everyone has their levels. So you have a sentiment, you have a overall idea so you don't get distracted with whatever coworkers or whoever's talking in your ears. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to here. All right. Wanting the best stocks for DCA of my sons. Amazon, you can't go wrong with. Amazon, Apple, I think Tesla personally, or TSLL, if you want a dollar cost average into that leveraged piece, but SPY and QQQ all the way, all the time. People might go a little bit heavier into QQQ sometimes because it is more tech focused, obviously. So just look at QQQ and the top companies in QQQ. But if you're looking for individual companies, Amazon, Apple, Tesla, NVIDIA, even, and I like to focus on spreading out the companies into different sectors. So some people go heavily into, like when people talk about a balanced portfolio, going heavy into, all tech, right? So if you want to consider picking something from a healthcare company, maybe Eli Lilly, if you want to pick something from a defense company, cool, but keep it simple. Amazon, QQQ, I think Palantir, obviously. Hopefully that helps. Google, for sure. Yep, Google for sure. I think nowadays, as people have gotten back into the stock market, it's like, yo, it's like feels like 2020 again, right? Everybody's like stock market, right? But I think this time, just people are a little bit more conscious. Like, let me do it right this time. And nothing's changed. Keep it simple. Google, Amazon, Apple, dollar cost averaging into those. Palantir, and then every once in a while, like what you're doing, Tabitha, is looking for what are those like speculative. I can take a little bit more risk. So like the aviation side, maybe some biotech, right? Like Ionic that we called out, that's still in a good buy zone, in my opinion, underneath $50. If it pulls back even more, we would love it. If Palantir somehow, some way can come back. Been in Palantir is about $14, $15. People, if you're not in our community, we can verify that. So we called that out back at 14, 15. If you got in earlier, great. If you're rewatching this, that's cool. There's no pocket watching or people trying to compete with each other. I don't know what folks are doing on here. I got in this, I got in that. I don't care when you got in. Do you have it? That's all that matters. Like, this is a community. Like, we're all winning, You're so welcome. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to this live stream. Again, please share my page out with anybody. We've been growing tremendously. I had someone tell me, like, Brian, this should be like way over 10K subscribers by now. So if you have not subscribed, if you're coming in from a different video and you just happen to tune in, like, yo, I like to do a video and let me check in his live stream. Thank y'all so much. Stock Sermon Sundays, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, roughly about an hour 15. We went about an hour and a half today. I do give about a 5 to 10 minute buffer. Right. So make sure you turn on your alerts and turn on every Sunday. And this week in the community, we've got prayer and fasting. We've got other things that are going on. So there's a lot more than just stocks. So if you need more of a holistic community, you can join our Thought Leader Hub with the links down below or in my bio on my IG if you have it there on the screen. And then we'd love to have you inside of our university. Right. Now, what I'll do specially, if some of you aren't in already and you're like, yo, like I wish there was a little bit of a something. I'll give 10% off if you message me right now. 10% off our university right now. If you message myself, this is only for people here who are live. You're already in, you're in. You already made your money now, okay? Some of y'all already made the thing back after signing up for the new year, okay? Come on now. I'll give 10% off if you message me right now, okay? I'll make a little code. Just DM me and say, hey, Brian, I was on your live stream. Like, I'm here. Like, if you don't do it, that's cool. That's fine. All right, I won't make the code. But if anyone messes me, I'll make a special code, send it over to you. All right, I'll be looking out for that next 5, 10, 15 minutes. And before the evening's over, and the code will expire tonight. All right, peace, love, and blessings, 10%. I'll see y'all on the other side. And next Sunday and throughout this week in the markets, for anyone in live trading, I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Peace.